I want to talk today on what I call the Hourglass of Enlightenment. Excuse me. What I mean by that is that if you imagine a large hourglass, let me get my hands lined up here, at the top part and the bottom part, and the key point is the neck. But imagine that all the people who are not enlightened yet, who are attached to the personal self, who are caught up in the illusion, are up here in this top portion. And people who have woken up are down here in this bottom portion. Standing outside, and it's kind of rainy out or drizzly out, so I might get a little wet here on you. Didn't mean anything bad by that. Anyway, in order to wake up, you have to get through this neck. And what that neck is, it's the dropping away of the personal self. It's a shift in your consciousness. It's a shift in your perspective. It's a shift in the way you see things. It's the way you see yourself, but it opens up an entire world for you. I mean, that's what everyone talks about, these wonders of enlightenment, is because they're saying this is what happens when you get through that neck. It may sound a little strange, but you've already been through one of these necks before in your life. You were in the womb, your mother's womb. And your consciousness then, from people who can recall memories from being in the womb, is much broader. It's much more expanded. It is, you experience your mother's emotions while you're in the womb. You hear music, you hear sounds from outside the womb, and to you as an infant, as this fetus, it seems like it's outside of you, that's a part of you. So in other words, your consciousness is much broader. Then when you go through the trauma of childbirth or a cesarean section, you lose all that. You know, the umbilical cord's cut. You no longer experience the world through your mother also. So you have to lose an aspect of your consciousness in order to get to the next room, which is what I call the personal self. The personal room, we might call it. Let's call the top part the personal room, and the bottom part of awakening, enlightenment, we'll call that the enlightened room. So you've already been through one of these before. You were in the fetus, you were born, and now you find yourself in the personal room. What a lot of people, spiritual seekers, focus on is they are up here in the personal room, and they're talking about what's going on down there in the enlightened room without actually being there. They read books, they study different languages. Buddhism and Hinduism are filled with these esoteric terms that don't translate very well. But they analyze this to death, people up there in the personal room. And it's all for naught, really. It really is all for naught. For myself, I spent a lot of time meditating, trying to clear my thoughts, trying to drop my thoughts, trying to see my thoughts, all this stuff. And some of it was helpful, but it really, all I needed to do was drop the personal self. All anyone needs to do is drop the personal self to get through there. Once you fall through, then you can pursue whatever you want. You can then pursue some more esoteric aspects of enlightenment. You can pursue clearing the mind of all thoughts, never having a thought again, if that's possible. I doubt it. To purge emotions, to see through the formless, what's called the formless, to see through the forms. You can do these things when you get down in that room, but if you're a spiritual seeker, the key is to focus on getting into that room, and that you have to do that. See my head above this? You've got to drop the big ego. You've got to drop who you think you are, because once you do, you can fall through. And it's pretty amazing when you do. It's amazing how clear and how beautiful the world is. I mean, here I am on a rainy day in some campground in Louisiana. No one in the campground. But some people might think, oh, yuck, what are you out here? No one else is in this campground, and I'm finding it beautiful. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Each his own, But part of that is in the enlightened experience. You say, I love everything. You love the world. And it's funny, if you think of Eckhart Tolle was not a spiritual seeker. Well, let me digress a little bit. You as a spiritual seeker, you kind of know what's down here in this room of enlightenment. So when you do fall through, it won't be such a shock to you. You'll be sort of like what Buddha was. He woke up, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I took all that up there in that personal room so serious. I can't believe I believed I was that person, And it's like waking up from a dream, and it's like that. It's like I look around and I see everything very clearly, even though I have poor vision. Everything seems so much more real because it is real. You're seeing through the personal self. Eckhart Tolle was not a spiritual seeker. So he's cruising along. He's way up there at the top of this room there, And when he woke up, it was a shock. He fell all that way down, and wham, he hit it, and it was like shell shock for him. It was like, and you still see this. You still see this in him to an extent. I mean, there's earlier videos, it's much more, he's just in shock at how beautiful it is, His later videos, he's not as much. It's kind of calmed down a little bit, but that's perfectly natural. Once you get down into this room, once you get down in the room of enlightenment, then you can decide what you want to do. Like you say, you can further your consciousness if you so choose. You could, I suspect there's actually a room farther down. I don't want to get into that right now because it'll take away from your focus on getting through the personal, the neck of the hourglass. Some people down here that when they teach, a lot of the spiritual teachers today, they talk about what it's like in this room, or they get it confused actually, I believe. They talk about what it's like in this room, and they talk about how to get along up there in the personal self room. But they really don't talk about how to get through, that neck, how to drop the personal self. Moses, when he fell through, he was in shock. He didn't know what to do about it. But he said, I don't know if he said this, but what it worked out to, and after everything was written about it, he took what he was seeing and he says, well, and this is just a theory of mine of the ancient spiritual teachers such as himself and Christ. They said, well, the chances of people waking up, people getting through that neck, is pretty slim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to them about how they can get along up there in that other room. Moses, having been raised as the son of a pharaoh, he was used to people doing what he told them to do, snaps his fingers and they jump. So he set down hard and firm laws. Okay, he heard the voice of God and he said, well, this is what God's saying. He made the laws out of it, so to speak. I know that's sacrilege, but that's kind of my interpretation of what happened. Christ was a carpenter, and it came through him, and so he told things kind of in parables. He told things a little more less defined, but again, he heard that the voice of God, and it came through this. In this room of enlightenment, you hear things, and so he was trying to talk to people in that upper level. Some teachers, like Eckhart Tolle, he talks about how to get along in that upper level with yourself. He talks about the now and being present, but that won't get you through that neck. Other teachers, they teach about what it's like down in the bottom, but it won't get you through that neck. So what I'm kind of focusing on, at least in this video, is you need to focus. If you're a spiritual seeker, you need to focus on getting through that neck. Don't focus on clearing your thoughts. Don't focus on being present. Don't focus on dropping your emotions. You hear that? I don't know what it is. Just focus on dropping the personal self. And when you do that, you'll find yourself in this room, and you can go find out what the hell that noise is. No, you'll find yourself in some, and then you can do whatever you want, Anyway, I hope this helps.